June 2009 in Norwich, Connecticut was a dank monsoon that lingered over the area well into the summer. Rain fell on 24 out of 30 days, and the temperature rarely broke 80 degrees. It was in this cool dampness that the city of Norwich turned out to celebrate the 350th birthday of the Rose of New England. In anticipation of this anniversary, members of the Richard E. Horrigan VFW Post 594 arranged to have the American Veterans Traveling Tribute and its replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial come to Norwich.
USA, brother. USA.
On Wednesday evening, June 17th, the AVTT came to Montville for an 8-mile escort into Norwich. At the Montville Town Hall, opening ceremonies were held on an unusually pleasant evening. A procession of runners, vintage cars, military vehicles, and scores of motorcycles gathered to escort the AVTT to Norwich. Dennis, one of the volunteers for the AVTT, kept an online blog chronicling their cross-country travels. Of their arrival, he wrote, "We had a great escort, very nice ceremonies, and a ton of bikes in the escort into the downtown area of Norwich from where we started in Montville. The road was lined with people from start to finish, with patriots with their flags, children and all, young and old."
Yeah, we'll start bringing them out. We don't want to get too far ahead, just one or two, because then we just got everybody standing out here holding panels. Might as well wait. It's easier to stand with nothing in your hand.
I assume the yellow marks the center and that goes there, right there, right?
The centerpiece display of the AVTT is an 80% replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., often referred to as the Wall. The AVTT's wall is over 8 feet tall at its apex and over 370 feet long. Richie Delorge helped in the planning involved to bring the AVTT to Norwich. He spoke to the press on Thursday, shortly after the wall was assembled and opened for viewing to the public.
Well, you know, I'm a Viet vet, and, you know, I've never seen the wall, and I don't even know if I can stay here to see this one, but what you really feel is that there was 58,437 guys that died for our freedom. This is why I'm here talking to you today, sir. You know, that's what people do. That's why the VFW is doing this, okay? When people come here, some have mixed emotions. Some cry, some get angry. I think what we all have to understand is today, and that's why we're here, is because of these names, and not to put past, you know, World War II or World War I or anything else. Without the veterans, we wouldn't be here.
On Friday, Governor M. Jody Rell was in the area and had time to make an unscheduled stop to see the wall. Norwich school children came out to greet the governor in a downpour, to the amazement of Dennis of the AVTT. He wrote, "We had over 600 children arrive on buses to come visit, even in the rain. That didn't stop them." The sun came out for a beautiful evening featuring speakers honoring the men and women who served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Chris Kuchu, a state representative and veteran, delivered a speech about those who served in wars past.
And as a young soldier looking back, I personally, I love all the veterans, but the World War II and Korean veterans, they went, they served, they came back after seeing destruction. You just can't imagine. We've never seen it, if you've never been to war, what destruction looks like. And they all witnessed it firsthand. And when they came back, the only thing they wanted was to live life with freedom in America with their families and enjoy the things that we enjoy every day. So for that, I'm thankful for those two wonderful groups of Americans, the men and women who served, millions, probably in all with Korean World War II, you're probably looking at 20 million plus veterans. And then today we're here with this Vietnam Memorial, and this is one of the greatest things for our city during our 350th anniversary to have this amazing memorial in the heart of our city.
World War II veteran Joe Vendola told the story of how he survived the sinking of his naval destroyer, the USS Truxtun, in a gale off the coast of Newfoundland in February 1942. The USS Pollux was also sunk in the storm, and a total of 203 sailors were lost in this disaster. Korean War veteran and Norwich resident Walter Way gave a recounting of the history of the conflict, sometimes referred to as America's Forgotten War.
Around the port city of Busan. This port became a lifeline which flowed the men and supplies needed for a counteroffensive. In an audacious gamble, United Nations troops commanded by United States General Douglas MacArthur made an amphibious landing at the capital city of Incheon on September the 15th. From there, they moved on to recapture Seoul, cutting North Korea's communication and supply lines. At the same time, United Nations forces crossed the 38th parallel and began to move northward to the Yellow River on China's border. A move that, as China had threatened, led to enter the war against the South. On October the 19th, 1950, United Nations troops took North Korea's capital, Pyongyang. The Chinese viewed the United Nations drive northward as a grave threat to the security of their country. By November 25th, 1950, some 300,000 Chinese troops had entered the war in support of North Korea. In late December 1950, after savage fighting of bitter winter weather, the last of the United Nations troops withdrew below the 38th parallel. In all, roughly 2.5 million Koreans were killed, wounded, or reported missing. United Nations troops, over 95,000 United Nations troops were killed in combat. 1/3 of them, 33,000, were Americans, and some 3,000 were non-combat Americans. An estimated 900,000 Chinese were killed or injured. The cost, more than 3 million casualties by estimates. Of the 36,000 Americans who gave their lives, 21 came from Norwich. Thank you.
Perhaps the most moving speech was by Robert Howard Jr. as he shared his thoughts on the loss of his father in Vietnam 40 years earlier, on June 10th, 1969.
Good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, my cousin couldn't be here tonight to read the poem, so I'm basically just going to say a few words. It was about the cost of freedom. 40 years ago, 40 years and 9 days today, my father was killed in action. My cost of freedom, and this city's cost of freedom, and the family's cost of freedom is that they lost one of their own. It was a tough coming up for myself, but I've always had all these angels following me around. And the people that knew my father, people that played sports with him, and just knew of the Howard family. But out of that cost also came a lot of beautiful things. I've met a lot of people that have served with them. I had the honor to travel back to Vietnam in 2003 and walk in the same area that my father walked with the help of all these wonderful people in Norwich. who came together, made donations, and I was able to make the trip. For that, I thank you. Also, my mother's out here bothering me. Also, it's made me a better father to my children. Not knowing my father was a big thing for me, but it's made me stronger. It's made me who I am today, and to instill into my kids that, you know, family is everything. It's real hard for me to speak right now. You have to excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us. Wait.
Later that evening, a luminary ceremony honored the fallen.
Corporal James Silva, United States Marine Corps, Beirut, Lebanon. Staff Sergeant Thomas G. Smith, United States Marine Corps, Beirut, Lebanon. Corporal Stephen Spencer, United States Marine Corps, Beirut, Lebanon. Lance Corporal Devin L. Sundar, United States Marine Corps, Beirut, Lebanon. Private First Class Stephen D. Tingley, United States Marine Corps, Beirut, Lebanon. Torpedo Men, Mate John H. Wells, United States Navy, World War II. Lance Corporal Dwayne Wigglesworth, United States Marine Corps, Beirut, Lebanon. Corporal Lawrence R. Yovano, United States Army, Korea.
After the ceremony, the luminaries were guarded, and people continued to view the wall throughout the night. And into Saturday morning, throughout the weekend, people came to look at the wall. Some came to look for someone special. And some came just to look. And casualties since September 11, 2001 were also honored with their names engraved onto gold dog tags and display cases. Sunday morning began as Wednesday evening did, with a procession of motorcycles. Later, after closing ceremonies and remarks by Congressman Joe Courtney, people viewed the display for the last time. On Monday, it was over. Time for the AVTT to pack it up, hit the road, and do it again. After leaving Norwich, the American Veterans Traveling Tribute continued on their cross-country trek. They visited 10 more states by the end of October, bringing together communities nationwide to honor, respect, and remember.